Welcome to the Celebrity Gourmet Podcast, where we feature top bakery and specialty food entrepreneurs from around the world and share stories and tips on how to create a successful life in the baking world.
Hi, my name is Odette Danello, the host of Celebrity Gourmet Podcast, where I interview food entrepreneurs to hear how they live fun lives with financial freedom while running their businesses. My past guests have included Natalie Blythes, founder and CEO of Pie Bar, and Katie Pope, founder of Blue Star Donuts in Portland, Olga Sagan of Pierogi in Seattle, Marlene Gessler of Freeport Bakery in Sacramento, Patty Stoba of Patty Cakes in Arkansas, and Megan Wagstaff of Lady Yum in Seattle. Today, I'm excited to talk to Janice Jucker from Three Brothers Bakery in Houston. Before that, I'd like to remind everyone that today's episode is brought to you by Celebrity Gourmet Ventures, Inc., Celebrity Cake Studio, and Dragonfly Cake, my family bakery in Tacoma, Washington. At Celebrity Gourmet, we have been baking joy into all of our artistically designed cakes and desserts for 25 years. We are proud to be working with a vibrant team of cake designers and bakers who help celebrate the sweet moments of your lives. To learn more about how you can celebrate yourselves or the ones you love, visit celebritycakestudio.com or dragonflycakes.com. Before introducing today's guest, I wanted to give a big thank you to a special organization of bakery owners called RPIA, because that's how I met Janice. We were on a bus in New Orleans, visiting 10 bakeries, eating king cakes like no tomorrow. And here's Janice. Hi, Janice. Thank you so much for being on my podcast.
I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm really grateful that you took the time to talk to me because we haven't connected in a while. But I wanted just to, my guests to know you because of the story of Three Brothers Bakery and the incredible superpower you have in transforming disastrous situations into amazing situations in your power in PR. So I wanted you to maybe share with our guests your role in Three Brothers and the story of the business itself.
Okay. But before I do that, I just have to chime in on that trip to New Orleans where we met, because we went to I think we went to 9 or 10 bakeries. We had king cake at every one. We brought home king cakes with us, like 9 of them, I want to say. And we put them out on Costco tables and everybody tried them all. And we all decided what we liked out of each one. And then we reformulated our king cake based on that trip. And that transformed our Mardi Gras business.
Can you please tell our listeners what a king cake is?
Oh, okay. So the Mardi Gras season begins January 6th. That's Three Kings Day, which is a big, it's really big in our Hispanic culture here. And they use a cake called Rosco de Reyes. And it's similar, but I mean, it's a similar concept, but it's completely different than what we make. So if you, on January 6th, if you're ever around some kind of a Latin or Spanish bakery, go there and get a Rosco.
That's the Three Kings. That's
the three.
Jesus.
Yes. And so anyway, we reformulated because our king cake was terrible before that. And now people say it's as good as what they get in New Orleans or in Louisiana. So we've actually converted some people from having their king cake shipped from somewhere to just come into our store. And so we have the very generous bakers who shared with us on that trip. And the one that was most interesting, I thought, was Paul's Pastry, because they were the ones that started filling king cakes. So king cakes are a sweet dough, and there's you can have it plain or there's a filling, and they have colored sanding sugar on top of the purple, green, and yellow. And then you put the Mardi Gras beads on there, and then we have a little pieces and the baby. some people bake it into the king cake. We don't. We put it on the side so people know it's there. We buy an extra large one, actually, and then they can put it in. And then whoever gets the baby has to buy the next king cake.
Right. And Paul's pastry was Paul's, right?
Yeah, it's in Picayune, Mississippi.
They are the ones who put raspberry in it, and they
were the ones that started filling it. No one else filled them until they started. And the woman who owns Paul's Pastries, she said, yeah, we were from California. We didn't know any better. So we just filled it. And that's how it all started.
What's incredible is the number of people or the number of bakeries in New Orleans who only do king cakes. They close for all year round, and then they open just to make king cakes, and they close like right after.
Right. Gambino's was one of them.
What was the other one? Gambino's, and then there was another one owned by women.
I don't know. I mean, Paul's is in Picayune. Randazzo's. Randazzo. That's the other one. So, but anyway, so if you're in Houston, we'd love for you to come by and get a king cake during Mardi Gras season. Yes. It's a bigger holiday. It's a huge holiday for us now. Valentine's is one day. And so this year, Fat Tuesday is the day before Valentine's Day, which is a bummer because sometimes it's in March.
So it is, the king cake is actually eaten not just it's celebrated the day before Mardi Gras, correct?
Well, Fat Tuesday is this big holiday because it's the day before Ash Wednesday. So I guess, and then people do their Easter, where you give up something. A lot of people give up sugar.
Right.
You don't understand why, but okay.
You're Jewish.
I would never give up sugar. I don't care what the holiday is.
I went to Catholic school and I was taught to add kind actions, not give things up.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
I know. That was one thing I learned when I was a kid.
Nice.
Okay.
So, go ahead. You want me to tell you about Three Brothers now?
Yeah, that would be great. So, and maybe tell everybody where you're at. Like, I know that in Houston, you have many locations, etc.
So, my husband and I did not start the bakery. My husband's father and two uncles were the Three Brothers. And so my husband's family began baking about 200 years ago in Poland in a building that Napoleon once slept in. And they baked continuously until 1941, at which point the Nazis came and my husband's grandparents were murdered in Auschwitz. And then the Three Brothers, and they had an older sister. And it's too long to tell the whole story on your podcast, but I encourage everyone to go to a Holocaust museum in some area where you live. But I love telling this story about Aunt Jenny. She was the older sister. She was so brave. She saved so many people and the Three Brothers. So she was working in her family's bakery that the Nazis took over, and she stole bread from their own bakery and gave it to the next door neighbor who had 8 kids. And she ran into one of those kids after the war in New York. And the person told her that she saved their life with that food, because bread is life, as we know. And so then in the concentration camps, she married the head Jew, and that gave her the opportunity for the best job, and they moved her into the office. And the Germans kept meticulous records. She found her 3 brothers, and she had them transported to her camp. And 2 of them were on death's door when they arrived. And she and my father-in-law, I wouldn't say nursed them back to health. I would say nursed them back to survival. And so she saved the 3 brothers, and they were together in that camp for a year. And then the last year they were separated again. And so then she and her husband moved here to Houston. We're in Houston, Texas. And so the 3 brothers followed her to Houston.
And this is the older sister, right?
This is their oldest sister. There were three boys and an older sister. The older sister was the oldest of the four. And so they all four siblings survived. And interestingly enough, there was another set of four siblings that survived and ended up in Houston and was from the same town that they were from also, which I find so ironic. So anyway, they come to Houston. They go to work at a bakery, which is now owned by Kroger. And it was so hot in there. And they're like, we don't need this. We can do this ourselves. So they did. And, they were the king of marketing. They called themselves Three Brothers Bakery because there were three brothers. And they baked. And we're going to be 75 years old in next May. Wow. And now we're a full-line retail bakery. We have breads, cakes, pastries, pies, cupcakes. We roast our own coffee.
Really?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's really good. I'm a coffee snob now. And we do custom cakes, and my husband's done cakes that shoot fire. And he's been on the Food Network a few times. Nothing like Bronwyn, okay, but
I know. Nothing can beat Bronwyn.
Right.
You also had the famous. You guys created the famous pie caking.
Right? No, pumpkin apple pie cake.
Oh,
and then the pie cake.
Tell us about that.
The pie cake, and I would say followed us, but in a way, we did a hack off the Chirpumple. So what happened was in 2010. Okay, wait, I just want to go back. So now we have 4 locations and we're looking for a 5th. Okay. So now.
So you're expanding.
We're expanding. Yes, we're trying. We're desperately growing. Okay.
Pumple.
Pumpkin apple. So, okay. So what happened was in 2010, I want to say it was 2010 or 2009. I think it was 2009. My husband picks up the phone and there's this little intern named Sarah who calls him and says she's an intern at Country Living magazine and they're looking for the best mail order pies in America. And here's the ones we're looking for. And will you send us some pies? So my husband takes down her name and number and the address. And he's like, this is just some college kid looking for free pies. This is, a gimmick. And I knew when I saw the phone number, I knew the prefix and area code because I lived in New York and my friend's dad worked at Hearst. And so I knew that this was correct. And so then when you work with your spouse, you have to pick your battle. So we had a discussion, I'll say in quotes, and I finally gave up. He wasn't going to send this college kid pies. So then I walk into the bakery a couple of days later, and there are these beautiful pies sitting on the production table, and it's August. I'm like, Bobby, what are these pies for? And he goes, well, you told me I had to send the pies, so I'm sending the pies, And luckily, we had gotten a box of refrigerated something. So we had one of those styrofoam boxes. Yeah, we had one. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had one. And we never shipped anything really back then. And if we made 200 pies a year of all types, it was a lot. Okay. And you send the pies, you forget about it. And a month later, he gets a call from a photographer and she says, will you send some more pies? And he's like, why? I already sent pies. He goes, well, you won the best pecan pie.
Wow.
Yeah, you won the best mail order pecan pie America has to offer, according to Country Living magazine. He goes, I sent you the pies. Why didn't you take pictures before you ate the pies? Like, we didn't know anything back then.
Oh, Bobby.
So we send the pies and then they call me and I can still remember the day. It was July 21st. And we had fired our website company and I had changed all the passwords and everything. And they went in through the root and took everything down. So you know how when you go on a page and it has a 404, this was not there. No 404. It was just nothing if you typed in our website URL. And so Country Living said, if you don't have a website and an e-commerce store by Monday, you can't be in the magazine. And that was on a Thursday. I did it. And we had
WordPress? What did you
We
use?
rebuilt the website. I had one product in our online store, and it was a pecan pie. So we got in the magazine. And so then I was like, maybe we could use this to build this business, and the pecan pie could be shipped. It holds up pretty well. And so we did a marketing campaign to media. We sent out like 100 pies to different media outlets. And then we made like a little brochure. And then I called the Eastern Chronicle, and the food editor, he said he would write an article about us winning this accolade. And then a few months later, he calls me and he said, I heard about this thing called the Chirpumple. His name is Greg Moraga, this food editor, called the Chirpumple. And that makes no sense to me for Thanksgiving.
So cherry, pumpkin, apple.
Yeah, I think that's what
Chirpumple.
it was. Yeah,
so it's a cherry cake with a pie inside.
I don't know what, I never got one, so I don't know. But so then he said, the thing that makes more sense to me is pecan, pumpkin, and apple. So can you make me one of these? And it was about 5 days before Thanksgiving. Sure, we're doing nothing right now. So of course we can make one for you. So when they came, we were just finishing it up. And frankly, it was still even a little warm, which is not normally the way, like we ice things and stuff, but we were running so behind, excuse me. So one of the decorators came up with how it should look. And we cut into it. It was probably the best one of all the ones we've ever made. It was the best one to me because it was still a little warm, and when you cut into it, things were like oozing out. And I'm a person that likes soft ice cream, things like that. So I liked it. I remember the photographer; she couldn't quit eating it. She loved it so much. And so then so that was in 2010 or something like that, or 2000. I don't remember when, but in 2014, that particular dessert, the pumpkin apple, went viral. Mm-hmm. It actually ended up on Saturday Night Live even.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was crazy. That year, it was so much fun, and it was crazy, and people were wanting it. And we'd say, well, I'm sorry, but we had to limit it because it took so much oven time, and we need to do our other things. So we decided we'd only sell 300, of which I sold 60 to one man. Bought 60. He was sending them all over. And I remember someone saying, I have my own plane. I can fly in and get it. And then
nothing.
And then I'll go to Arizona or wherever we're going. And I remember my husband was on the phone with that one. And he said, that's really great that you have your own plane, but you still can't get one because there's a waiting list. So even if you have your own plane, it doesn't matter. You weren't going to get one if we had sold them all and we were done. And so anyway, that was how it, and then because of that, we end up on Outrageous Food on the Food Network. And so all because of this little intern named Sarah, she changed our lives completely. She made such a huge difference in our business. And we fill up FedEx trucks now with pecan pies every year. All because of this little intern named Sarah. So never discount the interns.
Shout out to Sarah.
Yeah, shout out to Sarah. Shout out to all interns. You are worthwhile.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate you. Give us a call for free product anytime. Anyway,
I've always wanted to find her. I need to make a project and try to find her.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's the story of the pumpkin apple.
So pumpkin apple.
And I came up with the name.
I love that. You're such a brilliant PR whiz, because that's one of your superpowers. But your other superpower is insurance.
That's right. I am a queen. My husband, we call ourselves the king and queen of disasters because we've been through 4 floods, a fire, hurricane, pandemic, and freeze, and survived them all. And we never want to be dethroned, for all of you listening, because that would mean you're worse off than us. So after Hurricane Ike, right before 9 months before Hurricane Ike, our insurance company said they were going to cancel us. So we had to go find new insurance. And so someone I knew was an agent and her family had an agency. So we went to them and I said, so-and-so had a fire. They were closed for 12 months. They rebuilt, and they reopened. I want that kind of insurance. Whatever that is, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And then you get a book that is, this thick, and you put it on a shelf.
Right.
And you have no idea if this is what you need or not. Right. And so then we get hit by Hurricane Ike, and the bakery was totaled. And to give you an idea of the devastation, we were closed for 9 months. But that agent really took care of us. And we were closed for 9 months, but we paid our team. And that's really important when you have a disaster, to pay your people. That's the most important thing you do, because number one, you're their financial security, but also you can't reopen without them.
Right.
And then I worked a deal where they would, instead of hiring a restoration company, I had the insurance pay them.
Wow.
For the restoration. So for cleaning up and all that. So they not only got their paychecks, and they were working overtime, and they got the money from the restoration. So they cleaned up. They really did.
That's awesome.
Very well. Yeah. And we learned a lot through all of that. And I mean, I do talks on insurance and disasters and how to prepare and how to recover as well. And
what's your biggest share? Because considering what's going on now with, fires, like, what's happening in Maui, there's so many disasters looming. For a business owner who may be listening to this podcast, like, what are your biggest, shares and like action steps?
First of all, I don't like to get my insurance from like a single insurance company where they only have one product. Yeah. So my agent takes the best of all these different things. So, I might have Hanover for this. I have workman's comp with this one. I have, the flood insurance is with someone else. So number one, get insurance if you're in this bakery business, because we're very capital intensive. Get the lowest deductible that you can afford, because when you have a disaster, you're in a cash crunch.
Right.
So the less that you have to put out of pocket, even though it does cost more on your premiums, it makes a huge difference. No matter where you are, get flood insurance, no matter where you are, because floods happen everywhere. Don't live in a fantasy world thinking that your place doesn't flood. Okay, because it can. And then I don't know how wildfires work. I don't know if that's covered by your general casualty insurance, or is that a special one? Like we get flood insurance. I don't know. But flood insurance does not pay you business interruption, which is what enables you to pay your employees for an extended period of time, recoup your revenue. Right. The flood insurance doesn't do that. So the other thing you need is money. And if you don't have cash, there's no reason to muck out your business.
Right.
Because you're not going to make it if you don't have cash. And so one of the things that I've been advocating for is, and we got part of it passed in the Texas legislature 2 sessions ago, and that was for emergency bridge loans for small businesses activated by the governor after natural disasters.
Brilliant.
So, sorry, what?
That's brilliant.
Well, we got the framework passed. That was easy. But now we need to get the funds in there. And I want to get $200 million in there.
Oh, okay.
And so
from the feds, correct? From the feds. Federal.
Well, it comes from Texas. So we got, this ARPA money and all the states got this money after COVID and this and that. And I was hoping, because we have a surplus, an $18 billion surplus in Texas or something like that. And so I was hoping some of that surplus could go into this fund, because it's really the gift that keeps on giving. So the idea is following what Florida has. And Florida was giving us everything on a silver platter. They were giving us all the loan documents, the website code, everything. They were going to train us, everything. And once the people, when you fund the fund, so let's say we can get the 200 million, they loan out the monies. And then the idea is it's tied to insurance or SBA disaster loans, and they should be repaid within 2 years. And there's small bridge loans are up to $50,000 is what it is. And the idea is you would use that money to pay your team so that you could have a chance to reopen. And so then the fund regenerates because the people are paying it back. And then, and then 10% tend to not be able to pay back in 2 years. So then you work something out with them. And then you start charging. In Florida, they charge interest after 2 years. I don't know what we would do here in Texas. We haven't gotten that far.
I love that idea.
So I think every state should have it. And so I'm hoping we'll get it and it'll prove successful, and maybe other states will follow suit. But Florida was the one that did it first.
The thing about going through disasters, probably, and from my experience, is that it's so traumatic already that you went through a disaster, and then the uplift of trying to reopen, it's just it's a lot of energy that needs to be put into it. And the less friction through a bridge loan or through a really good insurance policy can lessen that, desire to just walk away.
They always ask us, because the media now, whenever there's, the flood or whatever, they always come to us because we're experienced. And they always say, why are you rebuilding? Most people would walk away. And I always say it's because we stand on the strong shoulders of survivors. I mean, what they went through that's a real problem, being in a concentration camp. That is terrible. What we go through with floods is an inconvenience. Now,
love that, Janice.
Well, I always try to say out of everything bad comes something good. So you sometimes just have to search for it. So, but when the three brothers and the sister, my husband's whole family, what they went through. I mean, his mother was in a Russian gulag during the war. I mean, her story, these stories are, it's amazing what these people went through, and that they can still hold their head up and laugh and live their life. But now I don't remember what I was going to say. That grounds me. What their experiences grounds me. And so it keeps my life in perspective. So even at home, like I have food in the refrigerator, and most people, some of this food people wouldn't eat. And I say, well, would Sigmund, Bobby's dad, would he have eaten it? Yes. So I'm going to eat it. Not going to waste it. And we feed the homeless and hungry with our day olds, every day. We're saving that for them. So the three brothers knew what it was like to be hungry.
I was going to ask you as a final questions as we wrap up, like, what inspires you most?
I want to keep the legacy going, as does my husband. Right. And we don't see a sixth generation. It's a hard business, as you know, Odette. And they're in better professions now, I think, than owning the bakery and working like this. So, but we want to keep it going. We don't want to just close it down. So we're growing it, and we're hoping by growing it, we'll find someone that wants to buy it, because that's really the only option.
Right. I think a lot of our businesses, like in the industry we're in, we have a lot of, there's this legacy we carry. And then now, the young kids they can go into tech, they can go this, and then they want to go remote. They want, they don't want the daily, day-to-day slog of lifting 50-pound bags, You're just talking about that. Like, why is it that there's so much, it's a male-dominated field, the bakery business? And your answer was?
The flour sacks used to be 100 pounds. And so that's why it was a male-dominated industry. And when we got hit by Hurricane Ike, the insulation up on the roof was 100-pound flour sacks that, used 100-pound flour sacks. That's what they used for insulation. So the three brothers didn't waste anything.
That is literally just a huge percentage of my weight. So I cannot carry 100 pounds.
Though, the fact that the three brothers, because they went to work in the bakery in Poland when they were 10, there was a baker strike. I think it was kind of a big bakery. It's kind of the feeling I get. And so they went to work, and that working in the bakery probably saved them during the Holocaust because they were strong.
Oh my God.
They weren't tall, but they were strong. My father-in-law, his hands were so big and so strong. And so I think that helped them. Those 100 pounds back, or 50, I don't know, 50. What's a kilo? 2 pounds, something?
2.2.
Yeah, they were 50 kilo bags maybe in Europe or something. I guess they were lap sacks. Anyway.
A bakery isn't just a bakery, as we experience, it's survival, it's transformation, it's like turning like what the yeast does to dough, right? It's like rising from the ashes. Our tagline is memory makers who happen to be bakers. I love it. I love that tagline.
That's what we do. I had breast cancer, and so I had reconstructive surgery, and the doctor who did it, I think he hung the moon. His name is Jeff Friedman, everybody, if you need someone. And I say they are givers of self-esteem who just happen to be plastic surgeons.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that's what reconstructive plastic surgeons give you back your self-esteem.
Right.
And so every industry has something like that.
And bakers are memory makers who just happen to be bakers.
Yeah, we just
ours is celebrate your sweet moments, for
how many celebrations have you been a part of? I'm sure
hundreds of thousands, maybe. We've been in business for 25 years. So, multiple celebrations per year, per family, per person. It's a lot.
Right. And then multiply yours times 3. And that's what we've done.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. It's amazing. That's wow. Well, Janice, I wanted to just ask you one more question before we end. If you could talk to your younger self, what would you say to her?
Well, if you're going to marry a guy with a lot of dough, probably should marry one that has the right kind of dough. Now, I'll leave it up to you
to interpret that.
Which is the right kind of dough?
So brilliant.
Or is it something you can work with your hands? That's up to you.
Or eat. Well, Janice, thank you so much for being on this podcast. I so appreciate it. I look forward to meeting you on a bus of some awesome.
Just come on down and see us.
Yes. Yes, I will.
It's 103 degrees. It's great here.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Celebrity Gourmet Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.